We are live. My name is Jimmy Talbert from WHYnot Results, and I'm joined with my good friend and co-collaborator, Clint Hosman from Longship Systems.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
So, tell everyone just a little bit about Longship, and then I'll kind of introduce what I do, and we'll talk about how we decided on the topic for today's webinar.
Yeah, great. So at Longship Systems, we develop automated client experiences, and I should expand that a little bit more. Not only is it automated experiences for your clients, but automated experiences for you, the business owner, and for your team, the employee, so that employees aren't always trying to make up new process to fill the gaps in their business, in your business. Instead, we're giving them a process and hiring to that process. And so we're going to be talking a lot about client experiences, but also realize that a lot of this stuff is for your mental sanity as an owner and for your team's mental sanity so that they know how to build and scale your business.
Yeah, and here at WHYnot Results, we create content that helps our clients see the results and see the revenue and the business growth that they're looking for.
So, and a lot of what got this conversation started is, as somebody who trains the robots, so to speak, I'll go through and we're going to highlight a couple of examples of this later on in the webinar. Create all of these campaigns, and they're connected here, they're going there, and if they have this product, try and sell them this. And then once I've built this, my clients are left kind of holding the bag of, great, I've got a bunch of robots. Now I've actually got to fill in the blanks with content. Content becomes, once we've solved the automation issue, how do I develop content really becomes the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're gonna run through all that. Specifically, we want to show you strategies that are actionable immediately today.
Yeah.
And so what we're gonna run through is different things to help you get more leads, help you increase your conversion rates, and then increase the lifetime customer value of everybody that you work with. So as we run through this today, my commitment to you is to make sure that we deliver clear and direct information, that we're giving you immediately actionable strategies with step-by-step instructions of what you can do, because we want you to take the information from this webinar, be able to use it in your business to start helping you grow your business and make more money. We're going to use as many case studies and real-world examples as possible of things that are working in today's market. And then we're also going to make sure that we answer 100% of the questions. You'll notice this webinar format is a little bit different. We're shooting it from our studio here in Phoenix, Arizona. And so we got different camera angles as well as the slide, everything like that, which is going to be exciting, hopefully, for you. And we hope that you enjoy this content as we run through this. So anyone who stays until the end, and this is only available for the live audience, anyone who stays until the end, we are going to send you this free Brainstormer guide. It's a guide that's specifically designed to help you come up with call to actions, with lead magnets, with things like that to help you grow your business. Go ahead.
Yeah, and sorry, I do this to Jimmy all the time. He gets going on something and it triggers a thought, and I'm like, wait, hold on, this point is really super important. Back to this brainstorming guide, and then our guarantee to you is that we want you to walk away from this investment of your time with an actionable item that you can implement today. Now, one of my biggest pet peeves in the marketing world is so many entrepreneurs that I know have so many ideas bouncing around in their head of, I could do this, or so-and-so says, do this. And because you have so many ideas, you basically get this paralysis via analysis.
You're saying that as entrepreneurs, we're a schizophrenic bunch.
Maybe not schizo. You may think the government's out to get you. More, you got a lot of ideas and not a place to direct them.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
And so whatever it is that you take from this, if you take an idea, pick one and run on it. And this brainstorming guide that we're going to send out to you is a great place to start.
Absolutely. So, I always like to start with a quote. Quote today comes from Mr. Howard Schultz. It says, in anything we do, any endeavor, anything we do, it's not what you do, it's why you do it. So, my ask of you as we go through this information today is that you think about your why, that you be engaged as we're going through this, especially those of you, whether you're on the live version or if you're watching the replay, make sure that you see it through. We're going to be going through incredible strategies today, and that you're open to new ideas, that you're vulnerable, right? What got you here may not be what gets you to the next stage in life. And then that you keep your customer or your client at the top of your mind. What we're going to go through, it doesn't matter if you call your customers, clients, patients, students, whatever. The strategies are the same that as far as what we're going to go through.
And as we're talking about this whole being vulnerable and be open to the new ideas concept, there's like you get siloed. What I experience with my clients, because I work with so many different industries, I don't like to be niched into a specific bucket, because it starts to become this echo chamber of, well, I do it like this because everyone else does it like this. I like, as a company, for Longship to bounce around from industry to industry, funnel to funnel, to get a sampling of what are dentists doing, how could that affect a film studio? What are film studios doing that real estate agents are doing? What are gym owners doing that can be beneficial to everybody? So being open to new ideas that we're going to be talking about is also being open to the ideas and the examples. That's not going to fit my industry. I guarantee you the stuff that Jimmy's going to be talking about as far as content, and the stuff that I'm going to be talking about of how to scale that content, is applicable to every industry.
Absolutely. And then make sure you take notes, ask questions. We'll ensure that we get them all answered.
Right.
And like I said, we want you to take something away from this. So if you're asking yourself at all, is this for me? Are you a startup that wants to grow? Well, then, yeah, this is probably for you. Are you an established business that's aware that they're missing opportunity in sort of this digital world without making changes? Then, yeah, this is probably going to be for you. Have you committed to building a more engaged and educated list of leads and prospects? Then, yeah, this is for sure going to be for you. And are you willing to invest the time, energy, and resources to actually implement what you learned today? And that's probably the most important right there. But realistically, this content may not be for everyone. So before we go any further, for people who maybe this isn't for, let's just go ahead and call it out, right? If you don't believe in personalized and consistent follow-up, then this may not be for you. If you're not open to being wrong, then yeah, this may not be for you. If you don't have a business, well, then this is not the business starting
one, right? Like
this is not the business starting course.
We're talking about scaling your business,
taking things to the next level,
right? And there's a big differentiation there, right? It's not necessarily feel good stuff that's going to motivate you to be the next Gary Vee. Okay? This is, I've got a business, I'm stuck because I don't know how to multiply my efforts. And I need a channel to either scale it through automation, or I need partners that are going to help me get content out there, get the ideas in my head out. You got to have ideas.
Yeah.
And you got to be making money off of those ideas in order to scale it.
And something that we've talked about before in all the strategies that we try to work through is setting your business up to thrive in any economic climate.
Right.
The economy can go up and down. But if your business is structured properly and you're always staying relevant and you have the appropriate systems and process in place, then you can build a recession-proof business. You're not going to see the peaks and valleys in your revenue the same way that many others do.
Right.
And then if you're just looking for that silver bullet or magic pill, that's not what we're delivering here. We're giving you strategies to build a business. This is not a get-rich-quick presentation. And if you just kind of intend to follow the norm or the status quo, may not be for you. And if you're unwilling to invest the time, resources, energy to implement the strategies you learned, then this probably is not the right place for you. So now that we've worked all that out, a quote that I absolutely love it says a man without a purpose is like a ship without a rudder. And in my business with Why Not Results, one of the things that drives me, or one of the rudders that I have, is my family. So on the one side there, I've got a picture of with me and my dad and my brother, and then I've got a picture with me and my kids as well. And in both these, okay, my dad was an entrepreneur as I was growing up. He owned a few different businesses, and I saw sometimes the struggle, and I heard oftentimes that some, I'd say, well-intentioned family members, when they didn't see his vision all the time, say, hey, maybe this isn't the right fit. Maybe you should just go get a normal job. And for me, that's inspired me to help and work with the small businesses and entrepreneurs that I have over the years. And so my rudder falls with my upbringing, and then also the values that I want to raise my family with, and the lifestyle that I want to be able to create for them. And Clint, I would say, is in a very similar position.
Sure. And for those of you that don't know, the lovely gal there on my left here in the picture, that's Jimmy's sister. That's my wife. So Jimmy and I have known each other for a number of years, and I'm really count myself fortunate to enjoy the company of all of my in-laws. And enjoying people's company, being around the people I love, that's a huge priority. My wife and I decided very early in our relationship that we value experience. We don't really care about the house that we live in. We want a solid roof.
Sure.
But we want to share experiences with each other, with our kids. You'll see them there, the little ginger Cyrus on the way up to the big girl Dagny and Bobby in between. We want them to grow up in a home where they've experienced things. And I know as entrepreneurs, the experience of owning a business is an up and down thing. There's some days where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm out. And then there's other days where you go, that's right, I did it.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It is. And so all of that becomes the experience that as an entrepreneur, I'm addicted to. But I also know, like Jimmy talked about, you got to have a direction, you got to have a rudder, and we'll get into that as well in the content.
Yeah, and some of the specific values that both companies share, we both have our core values, is that we help small businesses and entrepreneurs grow. We're both dedicated to simplifying sales and marketing for many businesses, and that we both innovate and constantly improve. And it's countless the number of conversations that Clint and I have where we're just talking through problems for a client or for things like that, yeah, and trying to figure out consistent solutions, putting the brains together here.
And that becomes really important, is having a partner, especially now in this day and age where so many people are going to look to somebody else to support them. Well, what are they going to do to help me through this time?
Yeah, exactly.
The thing I love about the clients that I serve is that they're people who don't look to other people to do for them. Mm-hmm. They look for people that are going to co-collaborate.
Yeah.
Right? They're looking for resources that are going to lift each other. But that individual ownership of success, that's huge. And getting into the content here as we cover it, you're going to have to, like Jimmy laid out in the beginning, identify those places where you need to be honest, need to let go, so that you can scale it up.
Yeah, exactly. And so specifically what we're going to cover today, we're going to start by going through why some small businesses absolutely thrive, but so many actually struggle to just simply survive. And then we're going to go through how to systematically attract more leads and automatically drive them through your conversion process. And then how to turn clients into advocates of what you do, and how to actually execute on the strategies, both from a systematic standpoint as well as a strategy standpoint. Hopefully it's kind of the 1-2 punch where you get it from both angles. So why do some small businesses thrive while so many struggle to just simply survive and just kind of put along? Well, to answer that question, right, why do so many small businesses simply survive, is let's look at the ultimate survivor here. So we've got the caveman. So let's think about what the caveman's day consisted of. So the caveman's day was, he'd wake up in the morning, he would go out, find the herd, sneak up on them, and go kind of find which one's going to be the weakest and beat them with a club, drag them back to the cave, and be fat and happy for a night. But then the next day, hopefully, the herd was in the same place. And if it wasn't, he went hungry. And I kind of liken this to some of these peaks and valleys in revenue that so many businesses see in the ever-changing climate today. And we're going to go through why that happens. So before we go through why that happens with most sales and marketing funnels, let's first establish what was the most innovative invention or creation for the caveman.
So we naturally, when Jimmy starts running this analogy by me, I'm all clearly it's controlling fire, which I still hold as true. But
wrong.
No,
wrong. In this case, it was not fire. That's what most people say. It's the fence. And so the fence allowed the caveman to evolve from hunter-gatherer or survivor to rancher-farmer. It allowed him to start being able to project and forecast what crops were needed. He started to understand the life cycle of plants and animals to be able to do that.
Now, I may be jumping ahead a little bit here on this, but once Jimmy started rolling with that analogy, scientifically, I don't know if it holds up, but marketing-wise, one of the most simple things that I do as I'm helping a business scale and grow theirs is I start drawing lines on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, here's a marketing channel. Here's a sales channel. Where does one start and one stop? It's amazing the clarity you get by drawing lines, putting fences around specific efforts. Here's where my sheep live, right? Now I've got them captive. I don't have to be beholden to following the herd. Here's where I plant my corn.
Yeah.
Right? I know that if I plant it today, that 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is, it's going to grow into something that I can utilize. But it takes a lot of effort to think that far in advance. Right?
Absolutely. And so what are the specific problems that leads right into, with survival style marketing? Well, it keeps you always chasing that next deal or that next whatever. It keeps you, your marketing becomes disjointed, and you start with this spray and pray mentality of whether we're talking about posting on social media, if we're talking about your email system or whatever, it's the spray and pray. And ultimately, you start to lack the confidence that your marketing efforts are going to deliver the surplus of revenue and clients or leads or whatever that effort is going towards that you need it to. And so many will stop trying.
And on this point, and this is one of the inspirations that got us going on this webinar was specifically, and I'm going to show you some examples of, let's say, large list-sized clients of ours that they run into email deliverability issues. They run into reach issues, meaning, let's say Infusionsoft is no longer delivering at the same level it used to. So the temptation is to say, email's dead, I'm going to move on to something else. No, it takes discipline in that spray and pray. How that shows up in the marketing world from my vantage point on the systems side is if you're sending out broadcasts and relying on deals today that you're just coming up with, discount the widgets by 15% and send an email, you're probably not seeing in the long term the results.
Yeah,
you're certainly not seeing predictability.
No,
right?
Definitely not.
And so I always call it, instead of spray and pray, I call it the crack cocaine in the marketing world. You're gonna get an immediate hit, but 3 years down the road, you're gonna realize nobody wants to hang out with you anymore.
That's right. Yeah,
because you're always itching for that next one.
Burn everything out.
Yeah.
And so let's look at the typical sales and marketing funnel, because I'm here to tell you that the typical sales and marketing funnel has you set up for those peaks and valleys, and to keep you in that survivor mode of marketing. So let's look at the stages. So it typically starts with generating interest, and interest can come organically. It can come with paid, right? Paid can be a dangerous thing as well, because it can be the drug that you never can get off of. But starts with generating interest. You sell the hot leads, right? You get a few new clients and you sigh in relief. But then what happens? Well, then you start over. You start over with what oftentimes is the most expensive and least predictable part of your sales and marketing funnel. And again, this is why it goes up and down. And the reason is because there's some major holes in this funnel. These holes exist in, lost interest. So people who maybe see you somewhere on social media, on your website, whatever, and lost interest or lost traffic, you could say, and then getting into lost leads. So people who you get, but then they don't convert. And then additionally, it's not being able to optimize that lifetime customer value through upsells, cross-sells, things like that. And so these holes exist in just about every business. And any business owner would tell you that the greatest cost to any business is opportunity cost and missed opportunity in general. So today we're going to uncover some of where that hidden opportunity is, where it lies, and then how to execute on how to really execute on that and capitalize on it. So if we put some numbers behind the funnel here, let's kind of look at it. So you get in front of, fill in the blank, a certain number of people, and let's say then you get 100 leads. And just to make the math easy, we're going to say then you get 10 clients. Well, then when you start over again, then you're then chasing new ones. You're chasing the herd again. And my question here initially on a conversion standpoint is, what in the world happened to the other 90 people who were interested in what you have? Well, at the end of the day, they end up slipping through the cracks. They're not followed up with. They end up going maybe with a competitor because what? It's all about timing. And here's the harsh reality is that people buy when they're ready to buy, not necessarily when you're ready to sell. And so ultimately, those other 90 just get thrown in the trash.
And what happens, again, we're jumping back and forth here around Jimmy's content presentation and then the reality in the ground with the systems and software that I implement for my clients. Those 90 leads that we forget about because we're busy chasing the 10 hot ones, when you do revisit those, like you've paid money to have those leads. And now you're like, oh, all right, I got to fire this back up again. I got to fire the engine back up. And you go out to reach out to them again. Chances are your system provider, Campaign, Infusionsoft, MailChimp, whoever they are, suddenly they penalize you for not communicating consistently. This penalization is going to look like getting your list throttled, decreased deliverability. Heaven forbid they even shut your account down, because these peaks and valleys are ending up to do more damage to them than you're worth to them.
Well, and ultimately, it's the same thing when you talk about posting on social, right? If you're a ghost as far as from a social media standpoint, you're never offering value. Well, and then your posts are not going to be engaged with, which means then when you post in the future, you're going to be seen less. These are all essentially they're different search engines, more or less, and their algorithm is configured based on what's happening there. So how do you capitalize on that opportunity so that you can get more out of everything? Well, you automate and systematize your follow-up. So from what Clint's talking about, from a system standpoint, you automate that process. From a posting and things, you have a schedule set up to be able to consistently stay in front of people and deliver clear and direct information. So you offer value is the start there. You always offer value. You educate your leads and your prospects. You nurture those into valuable customers, ultimately make the sale, and that's a rinse and repeat process.
And a lot of things, as you're talking about this, you say, hey, you put yourself on a schedule. One of the things that I know I like about being an entrepreneur is not having people tell me what to do. Turns out I'm kind of resistant to that, right?
Kind of a nonconformist in a lot of ways,
which,
from what I know of you.
Which serves us in some levels, but then also messes with us on others. And so part of the pushback that I get with people when we're automating, not just people, business owners specifically, is, in not so many words, they want to feel free to fly by the seat of their pants.
Yeah, absolutely.
They want, and there's validity there, right? You want, if an idea hits, you want the freedom to chase the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're like me, you know that when you come back from chasing the idea, you realize the baseline is neglected.
Yeah.
And so real freedom in this process comes from establishing this baseline that Jimmy and I are going to be talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That knowing that stuff is on lock is the thing that gives you the freedom to create and go chase the new ideas.
You're absolutely right. And let's talk a little bit about systems and everything and your business. So I want you to think about your business. Think about your customer. And we're going to use another analogy here. So think about your business as if it's a strawberry field. And every strawberry out in that field represents a person, a lead, a customer, former customer, someone who's associated with your business. And when you go out to harvest your strawberries or go out to harvest, you come back with something that looks a little bit like this. And this kind of gross picture here is a representation. Anyone who's ever grown strawberries knows that if they sit out there too long, right, they look like this. And you've probably got some green ones in the back. And so if you go out to harvest them all at once, then this is ultimately what you're going to get. So my question for you from a conversion standpoint is, what are you converting? Are you closing 5% of your leads into clients? Are you closing 10%? How many people realistically have no idea because you don't have the right systems in place to be able to measure that? And that's a lot of businesses. So if you're only closing 5 or 10%, then what you're really saying is that your garden is producing this right here. You have this huge segment of terrible fruit and this little sliver of good fruit.
It drives me crazy when I work with a company that runs a sales team. Like you have people that you're paying a sizable commission to close leads.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as there's a bad month, the number one thing they say to you, the owner, you know what I'm going to say. The leads are garbage.
Yeah, the leads suck.
Leads suck. If you just got me good leads, then we'd get more. It's a cop-out. Those of us that come from a background in sales know it's a cop-out. You missed the opportunity because you didn't take the time to identify the real concern.
Right.
The leads aren't garbage. You're just not hitting them at the right point, or you're not saying the right thing.
Well, and so let's look at that, because I don't think that it's necessarily this little sliver of good fruit. I think it looks something more like this, where you have some that are ready, that are already ready. Right? These are the ones that you're already closing, right? And then you have others that could be ready. They've got the making of a good client or a good customer. They've got the characteristics of your ideal customer. And then you have others that definitely could be, but they're going to need some more time on the vine. And then you're going to have some that are just bad. There are bad leads out there. Anyone who tells you that they'll only get you good leads is selling leads from somewhere. That's the only
and they're garbage.
Thing. And
I guarantee you they're hot garbage. But and again, looking at this image here, we all know when we speak honestly with each other that that's a fair representation of the type of database we have. Okay. One of the things that prevents us as owners from scaling our sales conversation is a couple of things. Number one, I don't know that I can trust sales guy to have the same conversations I do. I can quickly get in and I can identify where they're at in the cycle. How do I scale that? Two, how do I know that these leads that I'm paying, let's assume that they are there in the middle of the spectrum. They're not quite ready. How do I trust that I have a method to follow up with them after the no-close conversation?
Exactly. And so ultimately, we can identify that time and care are the two biggest things between the really green strawberries and the red ones, agreed, and potentially the furry ones on the other side.
I like furry ones.
Just for it's gross. So in a sales position, right, it's the number of meaningful interactions. So on the one side here, we have the percent of people who the percent of salespeople in general who follow up or who have meaningful interactions compared to how much they give up. So over 48% of salespeople, and this includes business owners who are also selling, will stop following up after the first let's call negative interaction. Sure. So the client doesn't buy right away. They don't answer the phone. They don't return your call. They don't show up to the meeting. They don't whatever. But we also know that almost 80% of deals are actually won after the 7th meaningful interaction. And so with that, we need to follow up. We need to deliver value and consistency. So if we come back to the strawberry field, right, the difference is walking through the field with a pail, a watering pail. And this is going to take time. It's going to take effort. But ultimately, you're going to get the desired result of what you want. But at the end of the day, you're still having to manually do that. So what if in your business you could reach much further? So let's compare and contrast the watering pail with the automatic sprinkler system here. One, sprinkler system took a lot of planning. It probably needed to rely on the expertise of someone who's done it before.
Right. An irrigation specialist. Yeah. I don't know what that person is. I'm not a farmer.
I've always had my dad come over and help me with it. But and then it takes some more planning, a little bit of expertise, and work. But you're able to reach so much further, and your result, as opposed to a basket of strawberries, is something that looks a lot more like a business as opposed to a hobby in your backyard.
And it's really important. I mean, you may be in a position in your business where you don't want to scale. There's value in being that boutique guy that wanders around with a pail, individually watering each strawberry. Your deals may be like, if I close this one, that's $100,000 deal, right? Great. This conversation probably isn't for you. The effort it takes to scale it beyond individual conversations to multiple conversations takes forethought.
Absolutely. And so ultimately, takeaways that I want you to pull from the strawberries specifically are that it's important to know what's in your field, and that you need to stop letting your profits rot out in the field. And growth happens when systems and automation are leveraged effectively.
Right.
And so on that note, on the automation note, we're gonna take a look at some campaigns, and the screenshots here are from Infusionsoft. Realistically, you guys don't care what system anyone uses. You guys work in pretty much every marketing automation platform, right?
Yeah, much like you out there watching this, if we just siloed ourselves into one software, it's not a solid business model.
Dangerous place.
It's a dangerous place. Yeah. And so I'm not in the business, though we're going to be talking about Infusionsoft here. This process looks like Infusionsoft because it is, but it's not necessarily limited. This is ideas and principles that I want you to kind of get your mind wrapped around. And so if we pull up that first slide there, Jim.
Yeah, I got it.
So we're looking at this guy. Yeah, look at that. So this is an Infusionsoft campaign. And what we're talking about is timing and staying engaged with your list. For those 90% of conversations that don't close out of the gate, how are we reliably following up to maximize their value? Now, one of the big gotchas that I hear from people a lot of the time is wrong message at the wrong time to the wrong person, where you send them out an email offering them to buy a widget, and they respond back and go, Clint, I already got that widget.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to have a system, again, forethought, of checks and balances to keep your automation in line. Again, I don't want you to be the guy with egg on your face saying, how did this guy get this message? So first thing that we do when we do this is, Jimmy wants to say something. Go, Jim.
No, I was just going to say, just give me a cue when you want me to go to the next one over here.
Perfect. So
that's all.
There you go.
Could have worked out something more subtle beforehand, but you know.
Look, I like every entrepreneur, I like to shoot from the hip, drive everybody else crazy around me. So somebody enters this campaign. Now, this is a simple campaign. And if you want the template for this, by all means, just schedule a consult with me and I'll give it to you. So I want the idea to flow over you. Don't try and dissect how I did it. Okay. So I'm selling, this is like bottom of the funnel, right? They've come in for a webinar. I'll show you the campaign like flow here in a second. They've come in from a webinar. They didn't convert. Where do they go next? Well, this client's instance, we're going to send them and we're going to try and upsell them into a free plus shipping on a book, right? Now, before I make that happen, they're automatically entering this campaign. But before I make the offer, I have a little logic check. I call it gatekeeper logic right there. I'm going to ask one simple question. Have they bought the book? That's it, right? If the answer is no, they haven't bought the book, they're going to proceed on. If the answer is yes, they have bought it, they're out, right? Not making an offer. So if we click over to the next one, Jim. Okay, so for these guys, I have no problem, they have no problem rather, repeating the offer to the person, but they don't want to repeat it week by week by week.
Yeah.
So in this instance, timeline is arbitrary. Do whatever you need. They're going to say, hey, have I offered this to them in the last 3 months? No. Proceed. They go on to the next one. If the answer is yes, they're out, right? So now they get into this final decision diamond, and inside of here, I'm actually letting them run through both phases. If they've not bought the book, haven't seen this offer in the last 3 months, I'm pitching them again, right? And they're going to go into that top line sequence where I have content. Now, inside of that sequence, they've got emails. We can adjust the audience that they're seeing in Facebook ads, etc., so that we're getting a cohesive attack, so to speak, on their buying. But at the same time, I'm planning ahead and I'm saying, hey, if they've seen this, put a timer, 3 months. It is a no-go for these guys for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing here is we're attacking, or trying to approach, rather, attacking is a bit aggressive. We're approaching each of our prospects with individualized care. I don't want to offer them things they already have. I don't want to bombard them. And from a process standpoint, this is going to keep you welcome in their inbox.
Yeah.
Right? As well as keep you on the good list for your email providers, so that you're not sending irrelevant information.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because ultimately, it really is all about timing. It's about being targeted with your communication, timely with when it's delivered and what people are getting, staying relevant, being personalized, because what are you doing? You're building relationships.
Right.
You're establishing trust through meaningful interactions, and you're educating so that you can eventually convert them into being a client.
And one of the big things, again, we're automating what you're currently doing.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a solopreneur and I'm looking at a 100 contact list, it's easy for me to remember the conversations that I've had and the things that I've offered to them.
Yeah.
We're talking about taking that 100-person conversation and scaling it up. One of the biggest ways to build trust is remember the conversations that you had.
Right.
Right. And not only remember the conversations that you have, but make your interactions meaningful.
Creating meaningful interactions to scale relationships.
Imagine that.
So you talked a lot about email and that type of communication there. Well, let's also run through some stats currently. So in 2019, 67% of interactions between businesses and buyers were via social media. And that's just because people are on social media now. And so 67% of the people who actually bought engaged in some way or another through social media, and almost all engaged digitally in one form or another.
Which is why I always tell people with email marketing, job number one of email marketing, get people connected to you outside of email.
Yeah.
So first interaction that you're having with somebody, try and get them to follow you on Instagram, follow you on Facebook, connect with you via Twitter, so that you're creating multiple channels to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. The next stat comes to us from Harvard Business School. It says 74% of content retained in social media, so things that people actually engaged with and then remembered something about, was video content specifically. And that doesn't surprise me. I know that I like to watch videos, and in this...
Well, simple psychology will tell you, well, I don't even know if it's psychology. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is, anthropology. You're attracted to things that are in motion.
Yeah.
Right? And so as I'm scrolling through social media, something in motion is going to catch my attention way more than this chunky 5-sentence paragraph that you wrote explaining how your company can help them. Like, if you don't do anything else, here's your one takeaway. Stop posting big content. Like, just post 3 sentences max before you have a break.
Wait, what are you saying? Blindly in-mailing people with, a novel about your value prop? That's not effective?
Yeah, nobody cares. Line break. And if you can't line break, then you want to up it.
I ignore at least 50 of those a day.
Good heavens. Especially nowadays when people are posting so much on social media. If I don't get it quick, I'm out.
It's about being engaging.
That's right.
And, with the numbers, right, so Gary Vaynerchuk says that to stay relevant today, you should be posting 13 to 20 times a day over your different social media platforms.
Pure insanity. I can't even imagine that.
Sometimes it's not different content on each, but think about it. So if you post to Instagram, Facebook,
right.
If you post to LinkedIn, this could be essentially the same content on each of them. It's just a matter of getting it out there. If you use TikTok, if you use, YouTube, that's a bunch right there.
Right.
And so if we're talking, you do a couple times a day to each of those channels, you're in good shape. Right. The problem that comes for a lot of businesses is they say, well, where am I going to get all that content from?
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
To make it good. That's why you get those paragraphs.
I get a good idea once a month, maybe, and I'm going to pound that good idea into the ground. And so as you get better at, when you have the good idea, scaling the good idea. And this is one of the things I really love about what you're doing with WHYnot Results is you're able to take the good idea somebody has and chunk it into smaller bits. So, case in point, this very webinar, it will end up being like an hour plus, but that hour plus worth of content created once via WHYnot Results is going to break it down into smaller segments that I can then scale and mobilize via automation to hit people at different points.
Yeah, we'll end up getting 20 or 30 pieces of content out of this one webinar. It's not just a one and done.
Right. And so I think I look at Gary V's quote, and it's not that I disagree with it. As a business owner, I go,
it's intimidating.
And so if you're like most people, you're going to look at that and go, yeah, screw it, I'm out. Yeah. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'm going to just keep individually watering strawberries. When in reality, what you can do with the right strategy is take focused effort and scale it out.
And that's what we're going to go through an example of right now. So I'm going to go through how I created 144 separate pieces of content in one day, which also included 81 separate videos in that. So I'm going to show you actual screenshots of exactly how we did this, because I know that can seem unfathomable. And I was actually able to impact over 360 separate places in our sales and marketing funnel, and able to do that with, like I said, one day of work, which I know sounds ridiculous. That's why we're going to show you how it was done. And it sounds crazy.
It is crazy. It's ridiculous. Like, knowing Jimmy as long as I've known Jimmy, it doesn't Jimmy talked for an entire day. Yeah, not that crazy. Not that hard to believe. Jimmy scaling that one conversation into 144 separate individual conversations, that's insanity. But you can do the same thing. Like, it doesn't have to sound super intimidating.
So we're going to show you essentially how to create 6 months worth of this content so that you can be posting this way. You can stay relevant and do it in a day. And so the way that we did that, we recorded what's called a season of content. So we did our season on lifecycle marketing because it's something that's very applicable to our ideal clients, right. And it's educational and actionable. And so we recorded it. We put it in 9 separate segments. So basically 9 separate individual videos, each one ranging between 15 minutes and 25 minutes. So again, we're breaking this day down into manageable pieces.
Right. And what we're going to do here in a second is Jimmy goes through that. I'm going to show you how to then take that content and build it into the automation platform of your choice.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
Content creation. Where do I house it? Where do I put it? So it's a two-parter.
And what can I do with it? Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where, so each of these represents a thumbnail. So with these 9 original videos, what we did was then we were able to get 72 individual short videos. And then from there, we were able to get 9 separate blog posts because we had the transcript from the video, and we've got software that when it's recording, it does all that for us. And then we also got the audio file to where we had 9 separate podcasts as well. And then additionally, I was able to pull 45. So out of the 9 videos, pull 5 quotes out of each one, which are great to use on platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram. And any more quotes on LinkedIn, for example, have become more shared than videos. Now, videos are still engaged more, but quotes, so depending on the platform that you're on, and this is something that we help our clients with, is knowing where to put things as well.
So as a business owner, and you're looking, and again, back to my conversation again, let's make it about me, Jimmy, is you reach this paralysis point as a business owner where you know you should be creating content, that you know you should be automating content, but because you see stuff like Gary Vee saying 1 million posts a day, you go, screw it, I'm good.
I'm not doing any of it.
I don't know how to scale it. Imagine now taking that effort, that focused effort, scaling it out like Jimmy is talking about, automating it through the CRM delivery of your choice. How much time does that actually generate for yourself?
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to deal with your whole addiction to feeling busy. Separate conversation. But you got a position to fall back on so that you're communicating relevant content to those other, going back to the strawberry, 100, 10 closed, those 90 other folks that didn't close out of the gate.
Yeah. And so let's show you kind of what we did with that. So if we look at just the first episode here, okay, where I was able to distribute all of this content. So I was able to make a bunch of other videos with that one, right? So cut it up with short videos, additionally post it in all these different places. And then with the short ones, okay, these guys are little social media representations and stuff. And then all these things are pointing at different lead magnets or call to actions that can then progress people through our sales and marketing funnel as well.
Right.
So then if you look at the whole season, right, and this is can be an overwhelming slide.
It is.
You could say, but if you look at the whole season, this is all the different videos and content and everything that we were able to pull from, again, that one day of work. So this is why, like I said, you could basically have close to 6 months worth of content affect your entire sales and marketing funnel. And if you have a day to put forth towards content creation, right, if you do it right and do it like this, and ultimately we got a bunch of lead magnets, we got educational nurture content, and then we got client educational content that helped build additional value for clients that we've worked with in the past by providing them with information and, again, continuously positioning your business as being an expert in your specific field. So understanding that, now Clint's going to jump in and we're going to show you.
So go back to the confusing one. Boom. Right? I love that. There's so much going on there that you think in your head, I want that. Then you don't have a roadmap of how to actually get there. Jimmy creates the content for you. Now, how do we distribute that content in a relevant manner? Now, I'm not going to ask Jimmy to go back. Maybe we'll do it in post-recording, where I walked you through that campaign where I said, hey, first decision, have they bought this? No. Move them forward. Have they engaged with this content in the last 3 months, I think it was? 3 months. No. move them forward, right? So let's take that, and now if we progress forward to that next slide, Jim. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I blocked out the actual product names because the client, their name is irrelevant. But what we have here is, if you start scrolling down that side there, sorry, back to the side, where you see contacts in these campaigns. See the low digits down at the bottom? Those are front end offers. Now this is a live snapshot because I like to shoot from the hip. I grabbed this morning from this client's database and driving Jimmy and Mario insane. Those low ticket ones down there, those low volume ones, those are the front end offerings. Those are the ones where we're really going hard. Now, as you start working your way up the column and you start seeing 8, 9,000, 7,000 contacts in those campaigns, those are those lower tiered offerings. All the way up that highest one that's almost it is over 9,000, isn't it? There's 9,000 contacts sitting. This is that ebook campaign I showed you, sitting just to be offered a free plus shipping book. Mm-hmm. Okay. So now, take those campaigns that you saw earlier. We want to attract relevant clients, right? Keep our conversation relevant to them. So you can combo the content that Jimmy's talking about. You've created once. You have a landing page. You have email. You have video. You can connect it to them via email, but simultaneously be controlling ads that they're seeing on social media to the sequence
and the organic stuff that they're seeing as well.
Right. If they want to pop in at that point, great, whatever. But now you can control large lists long term. So here's the thing. If you're looking at, you have I'll make Infusionsoft the go-to here for a second. If you have north of 10,000 contacts inside of your Infusionsoft and you haven't felt deliverability issues yet, reach issues. Take a look at that again, that slide. Cumulative total, we're up almost, if somebody will actually do the numbers and say, actually, Clint, you're over 100,000 contacts. If you're over 50,000 contacts in this database, somebody's gonna enjoy proving
we're gonna get a comment somewhere.
They're managing 30, 40,000 contacts, making timely, relevant offers out of one Infusionsoft. I know people that are freaking out at 500 contacts and saying, the software is screwed, I'm out. It's not the software.
Yeah.
It's your strategy, right? How are you staying relevant?
Yeah, and then it's also when you're only relying on email as opposed to going multiple channels, because you know what? People consume information different ways. And isn't it great when you can move them ahead in the conversion funnel with either something that's happening automatically or something that they're viewing at home on their phone when they're on social media?
Right.
All right, so go to the next one here.
Yeah, on the next one here, this is where I just highlight the different numbers, right? It's really irrelevant at that point. We've talked about it.
You went through both slides.
Yeah,
in one.
you know, I did what I do and I jumped ahead. You're welcome.
So, overall takeaways that you're hopefully gathering from this webinar today is that if you want to truly thrive, you need to stop marketing like a survivor.
Right.
And if you want to stay relevant in today's market, your communication needs to be targeted, needs to be timely, needs to be personalized, because what are you doing? You're building relationships and you're establishing trust so that you can drive conversions. And it's a matter of building those relationships across multiple communication channels. And then at the end of the day, systems plus strategy plus automation equals business growth in any economic situation. So we've got the S plus A equals BG, business growth, $ next to it. It doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. And I think especially now, like, we hear the conversations, like for me in the CRM world, it's email deliverability.
Yeah.
If you're doing ads on the front end on Facebook, you know, if you've done any ads, you know your ad's gotten slapped down for something. And if you're reliant on one source, if you're that caveman hunting one animal,
Yeah.
and you're getting them one at a time, you know how vulnerable you actually are.
That's right.
And I make a joke about people counting it up. I had a really engaging Facebook ad a few months ago. It was me riding a bike because I like to do that. I had a dog, my dog, Storm, on a leash, and she was running beside me. I had two groups of people. 90% of people saw that ad and said, I freaking love it. 10%, maybe even less, said, what about that poor dog? And eventually, the group of folks saying, what about that poor dog, got so loud, I just stopped the ad. Well, in that meantime, I really hadn't come up with a different ad, or I actually just ended up going back to an old ad. But if you're siloed into a channel,
Yeah.
you're vulnerable. Diversifying not only where your messages are getting seen on, but how you're delivering your messages is key to sustainable growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And so we do have a special offer for anyone who's watching this, whether you're watching it live or if you're watching the replay. So we're offering really two separate potential consultations, and you can select. So we're putting the link into the chat right now. And if you're watching this on a social channel or anything, it's likely in the comments. The link to this page. But what you can do is you fill out your information to request the consultation, and you can select, I want help with my systems, I want help with my content, or I want both. If you select systems, it's going to line you up with a consultation with Clint from Longship Systems, or with someone from your team.
Right.
Yeah. If you select content, it's going to line you up with someone from the WHYnot Results team who will go through, break down your content, your ideal client, and help you put in place a strategy that's going to help your business and help you grow. Or you can select both, and you'll get a consultation with both companies. So now that you've watched this webinar and you've absorbed this content, you might be a little bit overwhelmed. You might feel like you've been drinking from a fire hose a little bit. And so what we're offering is to do a free, 100% free, no obligation consultation for your business. So go ahead, and if you click the link there and you fill out the information, it's going to ask you as well if you're what you're interested in, and if you want to review your content and your system, or if you're just kind of interested in content. But either way, we'll break down your ideal customer profile and get really crystal clear on what motivates your best customers to move, and how to attract more leads that specifically meet that ideal client profile, and how to ultimately increase the lifetime customer value of everyone that you work with, and ensure that your content is an appropriate representation of your brand. And then again, if you want help from the system standpoint, we'll get you connected to Clint as well. And yeah, looking forward to getting to know you and getting to know your business a lot better.